to that point, right, like I feel that movie theaters have survived larger existential threats, which is like the invention of television, right? Like that fundamentally put a picture in the home, just like we're talking about today, and yet people still found the urge to continue to go to the theater.
And then there were VCRs, and now the one big conversation is streaming. I guess what's sort of a cause for alarm is that we did recently see Disney announce that they're shifting focus from sort of theatrical releases to doing a lot of streaming entertainment. Disney Plus is obviously a huge thing. That's where they've dumped a handful of their bigger releases coming out this year. Do you see sort of the future of movie theaters changing the type of movies that are coming out, or the type of movies that we see on different platforms?
At the end of the day, when I say that, like, I think movie theaters are going to change, what I mean is I think that movie theaters are going to get smaller. Blockbusters are going to be increasingly the only things that come out in movie theaters, right? Like, I agree that demand is going to drop. There are going to be less people going to the theaters, but there are still going to be people that go to the theaters. And I think that the only films that are going to still manage to keep that kind of prestige are going to be like $250 million budget, like huge blockbusters, like Marvel movies, Star Wars, movies like that.
Yeah, movie-going events. And we've seen a bit of this. Like, obviously, a lot of the sort of the money that comes into, you know, like box office revenues does often come from sort of like added value stuff, whether it's like IMAX or having to rent Avatar 3D glasses. Do you see more of that stuff happening, or the overall experience becoming more of a blockbuster thing entirely?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, so a couple of interesting facts that like we should just like talk about right now, just so it could color like the art, right? In 2019, the average American went to go see like 4.6 movies. That means they went to a movie about once every 3 months, a fraction more, right? So like if you saw like Star Wars, like The Rise of Skywalker, you saw Captain Marvel, you saw The Lion King, you saw John Wick, and you saw Uncut Gems, right? But like, by the way, best movie of
that was my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah, totally. But like, if they've only seen 5 movies, right? Like, we can make the argument that like most of the movies that they went to go see were these like tentpole releases. People are only going to the theaters 4.6 times. At the same time, like, as actual number of tickets per year sold has been dropping, the actual amount of revenue that the box office has been generating has been increasing. And a large part of that is due to the fact of premium theater formats, things like 3D, IMAX, and if you're one of those people, 4DX. I don't know why anybody goes to see a 4DX film, but I mean, teach their own.
It's an experience, Michael.
No, it's not, man. It's like literally squirting water in my face while I'm trying to eat popcorn. I don't know why that's... I don't get it. But anyway.
So, well, let's back this up. Obviously, that type of experience is really only compatible with like the big stuff. Like, there are some, you know, you can definitely see some big, you know, breathy art house movie on 70 millimeter. But for the most part, when you go see an IMAX movie, you're seeing, you know, people punching Thanos in the face, or you're seeing, you know, Spider-Man jumping around. It's about big time spectacle. So I guess the big question is like, is this going to be this weird sort of shift where movie theaters are only for the biggest things and then everything else winds up on streaming? Or are there like alternative theater going options that we might see possibly?
So I think in broad strokes, like that's what's going to happen, but that doesn't mean like, I mean, like, we live in a capitalist society. There's room to invent. There's room to create value in different ways. And like over the last couple of years, like movie theaters have been trying to figure out new ways to get people to theaters. I mean, I loved Movie Pass. Movie Pass was like my favorite thing in the world. I don't know if you had a Movie Pass, but back when they dropped it to $10 a month, I had 2. I had a pair of tickets in my pocket at any time. So anytime I wanted to go to a movies, I would just be in the office like, hey, who wants to go to a movie after work? It's on me. Like, let's go see something weird. Sometimes it works. Sometimes
you still couldn't save the theaters. Good Lord.
Oh, no, they lost hundreds of dollars on me.
So obviously I went back and saw Tenet. Was like my first original new movie that came out. I didn't love Tenet, Christopher Nolan, unfortunately. But you know, do movie theaters have, you know, a chance with the way stuff's coming out and streaming?
I think that movie theaters will always exist and will always be a part of our culture. I do think that they're going to have to change and evolve and shift the way that, and we're going to have to change what we expect from theaters too, I think. But I mean, I think we are rapidly, before the pandemic, we were approaching the point where it was you could see off in the not too distant future a point where a movie theater has 12 screens, and on a given Saturday, 11 of those screens are showing whatever Disney put out that weekend, and the other one might be showing something else, and everything else is at home, and we watch or you go to an art house theater, and maybe there would be growth of art house theaters to where some of these multiplexes go away and they are replaced by 2 or 3 screen theaters that show some of the smaller movies. But I mean, streaming was already eating into the business before the pandemic.
Right.
So for us to expect that it's going to go back to like the heyday is not going to happen. If we've learned anything from the pandemic, it's that being in the state that we've been in for the last 18 months has kind of taught us, we've established habits of what we do now, and we have eliminated some things from our lives, and some things we're going to go right back to, and some things we're not. I used to go to a lot of concerts and gigs and stuff, and I haven't in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. And I'll be honest, the first few times that I looked at tickets, I was like, oof, I got some sticker shock on this. And maybe I'm not going to be somebody who goes to 5 concerts, big concerts a year. Maybe I'm going to be somebody who goes to 1 concert a year because my life has changed over the course of the pandemic. And I think there's some of that will take place with theaters. But I don't think we're at risk of there being a time where you can't go to the movies. It's just what you can see at the theater is probably going to continue to shrink over time.
Is what we're doing here. Other than bankable star, what's the most important movie successful part of the movie? I wanted to look first real quick before we get that, because bankable star is obviously something we're going to talk about. And I thought it was interesting here to find, the most, this is from 2020, by the way, The Rock is seen as the most bankable star. Ryan Reynolds, interesting, number 2 there on that list. Mark Wahlberg all the way down to Jackie Chan, still relevant in 2020. That was a bit of a surprise for me. So we know bankable stars are certainly going to be guys you can count on, but what other things are there that help a movie really be able to get off the ground?
It's still going to be, property is the number one thing. When you look at like what has done well over the last, and it increases every year. 2020 is an outlier, and 2021 will be as well because of COVID, obviously. But when things sort of reset to whatever normal looks like on the other side of this thing, let's say it's 2022, hopefully, it will likely reset to something closer to what it was in 2019, 2018, 2017, where if you go and you look at, I looked at 2019, and if I remember correctly, of domestically, so that all the movies that came out here that were made in Hollywood or something similar that came out in our theaters, of the top 25, I believe there were only 3 that were, as far as grossing, I mean, that made the most money. There were only 3 that were original properties. They were all either sequels or remakes or, the 18th part of the Marvel movies or whatever, something like that. They are all these well-established, known properties. And that's the way to make money now. And so all the studios know that. A bankable movie star is cool, but really you want to do both. You want here's the 27th Marvel movie and it stars The Rock, or something like that. You want to pair those 2 together. But at the end of the day, at this point right now, Hollywood is usually going to choose to put big budget behind something that already has a track record, even over somebody who already has a track record.
This is a genuinely amazing shot, but I can't help but wish that I would not have seen this in the trailers. So why do they keep on showing us too much in every trailer that we see now? I'm Brendan, and welcome to Cut Short. Trailers are necessary in the world of film today. It's one of the central reasons an audience member becomes an audience member. So when the film's marketing team starts to graph out their trailer, the primary point in mind is, how do we hook in an audience? They need to find the proper visual moment to get the audience to make the extra decision to come to their film. Movies are filled with visual moments, moments that an audience member will remember when leaving the theater. So when I ask you to recall a moment from Jurassic Park, most likely you will think of the T-Rex attack, which is the peak moment in the movie. Typically, these moments in movies accelerate as the film progresses. Climaxes are the perfect time for these moments since it is the culmination of everything so far. If the movie has done its job, then you care about the characters at this point, making the moment more impactful. So when that same marketing team needs a moment, they want the biggest and finest of them all to bring in as many people as possible. Since most of the finest moments are around the end of the movie, using these ending moments will ruin parts of the film. That's where the problem lies in movie trailers. There's times where I've watched a 2-minute trailer and I feel as if I've watched the whole film. A recent example of this was the trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming. There's an amazing visual moment in the trailer that shows Spider-Man holding two sides of a ferry together by himself. After this, Iron Man flies in to help Spider-Man keep the ferry together. It's a marvelous sequence of events, but imagine how unbelievable it would have been if you saw it by surprise in the movie. Now, after watching the trailer, you are aware that when the ferry is introduced, it will eventually split in half, and while Spider-Man is struggling to keep it together, Iron Man comes in to save him, ruining the tension that the scene is meant to create. Even when there's only a minute of build-up in the trailer, the scene is spectacular. But imagine if you had an hour of build-up in the scene for the actual movie. That could make this moment have all the impact that it should. Revealing too much in trailers is not an accident. There's a real reason for why they use this strategy. The marketing teams for movies are in a real problematic spot when making a movie trailer. Robert Zemeckis, who has written all 3 Back to the Future movies and has directed classic movies such as Castaway and Forrest Gump, had this to say about movie trailers. We know from studying the marketing of movies, people really want to know exactly everything that they're going to see before they go see the movie. It's just one of those things. To me, being a movie lover and film student and a film scholar and a director, I don't. Robert Zemeckis focuses on not what happens, but how and why this moment happened. For example, the movie Castaway ends with Tom Hanks' character escaping the island he washed up on. The trailer for this movie showed not only Tom Hanks' character escaping the island, but it also shows the very final scene of the movie. He shares the what with the audience so they will come to his film and see the why. There's a major struggle between what the audience wants and what makes a profit in Hollywood. It's difficult to argue against their data. If this strategy in trailers does make more money, then of course they're going to do it. But the major question lies here. How much do you sacrifice of your art for profit? And is releasing the what in your movie a real sacrifice? They're both difficult questions and there's no correct answer. Unfortunately, for people who want the moments in a movie to be kept fully secret, money talks. Teasing a movie in a trailer to grab attention just doesn't sell tickets anymore. And until the profits start to skew towards the other position, I can see many other big moments in movies being remembered through the trailer and not the film itself.
At this point,
I think one of the most frustrating things for me is I've actually tried to actively avoid trailers to some degree. I feel like many times they take away some of the best parts of the movie. 1917 was a tremendous movie, but I knew everything about that movie before, because I'd seen the trailer about 20 times before it previewed every movie I was going to go see. And the very end scene where he's running along the trenches and the bombs are blasting around him, I'm like, I've seen that 50 times. Is there some sort of remedy to where we can say, look, movie studios, we want to promote your movies as well prior to movies, but we don't want to give away, the stuff that, that's going to ruin the movie for the particular fan.
Yeah, it's a tough thing for the studios because they've got to make money, and everything that they do, that they have done, the history says we have to market a movie this specific way in order for it to do well.
Yeah.
I would argue against that. I would say, given how much data we have that says people are going to go see movie X regardless, to be honest, then we don't have to do so much with these trailers. I'm at the point where it's like, I'm less frustrated by a trailer that gives away a little bit too much, and more frustrated by the 14 trailers that come out on a movie before it's ever hit theaters. That's the stuff that frustrates me, because by that point, even if they are recycling footage over and over and over again, you are getting more than what you really want to see for a movie. I would love for, I understand with some of these movies, 1917 is sort of an outlier because that was an original property. That was a movie that didn't have Marvel or the Fast and Furious franchise or something like that was attached to it. There was a big budget kind of movie. So putting a trailer out for that movie where you get that trailer is a great trailer. I think you're right. It does give too much away, but it is a great trailer, and it gives you an indication of the panic attack you're about to have while watching this movie. I mean, it really puts you into what that movie is about. And I think that was probably pretty valuable for 1917. Yeah. But when we have so many movies that are existing properties, continuation properties, reboots, all that kind of stuff, I don't think that it's necessary for us to pump out so many trailers. I would love for the standard, honestly, on the big budget movies to be one teaser trailer that comes out,
that's it,
whatever, 9 months ahead of the movie, something like that, and one standard 2-minute trailer that comes out 3 months before the movie, or whatever we decide the standard needs to be, and then that's it. We don't need another one. We don't need a fifth and final trailer 3 weeks before the movie comes out, or any of that stuff. We need it to be a little bit less. I would love for some of these movies, the studios, to just say, like I've said on our show several times, Christopher Nolan, I'm going to go see the Christopher Nolan movie.
I'm in.
No matter what. It doesn't matter. And so, like, I would love for a studio just to put up a black screen and just have the words Christopher Nolan movie, July 22nd, 2023. See you there. Like, that's all I need. I don't need to see 1 second of footage to be excited for that movie. Maybe.
Well, when I was a kid, the first connection you would have with a movie is seeing the poster. But I had a neighborhood theater, and when I would go to the movies, they would have a hall where they had 6 or 7 posters for pictures that were coming. And that's how you could gauge what you were going to do in the next couple of months of your life.
Prior to about 1965, they never really gave the artists credit for their work. That said, people now want the original release poster for a Bob Peak film or a Struzan film.
Movie poster art is revered now. The ironic thing is that as much as we love it, it's an art that is pretty much dead. The studios aren't hiring illustrators anymore. And it's sad. The fans have taken it upon themselves to create magic.
That's incredible.
So I think that what we're doing is going to impact commercial films.
It gives me hope.
It's purely a love thing.
That's the way I measure Tom Hardy. I don't quite understand where he's coming from. I feel like Joker to some degree in the DC universe, and we'll get to the DC universe is the same way. But I thought this poster of Joker was particularly interesting because that flight of stairs is vital in the movie. He's in color. Everything else is sort of a distilled color. I just felt like the poster. What role do movie posters have in the world of promoting?
Man, movie posters, I love movie posters. It's become sort of a lost art. I think mostly because the studios have decided that they don't matter. They don't carry as much weight as they used to. Again, because property is king. And so to put out a great Captain America Civil War poster, like if it's a great poster, that's cool. It's like thumbs up, awesome. But if the poster was just a black page that said Captain America, is probably still going to make just about the same amount of money. And
Here's
so
the top 10. So we've got The Exorcist, 1973. We've got, let's see this is Vertigo,
yeah.
58, obviously. I mean, let me get rid of this ad here. And you have Scarface, of course, was a great poster. You have Pulp Fiction. I can still remember seeing that movie in Imperial Beach, San Diego area with my friend. There was a fight that broke out in the middle of Pulp Fiction. It was just, I guess that was extra. No, you didn't have to pay extra for that. Ghostbusters, great poster. Of course, Star Wars. I mean, iconic poster as well. Alien as well, an incredible poster. And then, of course, the Babe Ruth of posters being Jaws. A very simple yet very, very scary poster. You're right here where you just say, like, they don't have to do those kinds of things anymore. But man, when you're walking into the theater, there's always that line of posters that are there. And, my kids point, it's like, that is maybe the first level of impact that customer has on a particular movie. So it's got to convey really quickly, what they're trying to say. Yeah.
And I mean, again, though, you look at those pages, I think the most recent movie on that list is like 1994. So it's sort of a lost art, and it bums me out because I love movie posters. I think they're great. And it can still be helpful and influential for smaller movies the movies that aren't attached to a major property. That can be helpful. You just came out of the Fast and Furious movie, you're walking out of the theater, you see a poster for The Green Knight. The Green Knight had a great poster for The Green Knight. It didn't really matter to the box office, but it's a great poster, and it kind of like, it puts into your brain like, man, what do I know about The Green Knight? Okay, me personally, being a big, huge movie nerd, I know that it's David Lowery, who's one of my favorite directors. I know it's Dev Patel, who's just an incredible actor. For sure going to win an Oscar at some point in his career. I know it's made by A24, which makes great indie cinema. And then I saw the trailer is pretty good. That poster is awesome. It's putting all those things in my mind. If I don't know all those things and I see the Green Knight poster, I maybe think, man, that's a pretty sweet poster, and it sticks in my head. I'm going to go home. I'm going to Google the trailer and see what comes up, and if it's something that is of interest to me. Right. But for the bigger studios and bigger properties, movie posters and cover art for like DVDs, which also barely exists anymore. But
I mean, this Back to the Future, this is like, I mean, I can see Marty McFly doing this and 121 gigawatts. I mean, it's like, I can hear them. They're so iconic in my subconscious because I watched this movie so many times, but also just the flames coming from the DeLorean and all of that is like, I don't know. Yeah. There's just got to be a special place in our heart for movies.
For sure. Yeah.
Love them.
There's something great about that. And you have some great, like Drew Struzan is probably the most iconic movie poster artist of all time. He's a great follow on Twitter because he's retired. He doesn't do anything anymore, but he almost every day he'll post like, here's the poster that I made for movie X, and here's where it started. Like, here's the concept art, like things like that is really cool. But the studios, they just don't have to value it because it's just not as important to them anymore. I do love when, and some studio, Disney does this pretty well. Disney did it really well with the Marvel movies, where for their DVD and Blu-ray releases, the digital stuff, and especially like the special edition box set kind of stuff, they have been partnering with newer artists to do some cool stuff for that. So it's like, it doesn't really matter what shows when in our theater when we walk past it, but for this kind of niche product, like the people who are still going to go and buy the special edition of the Blu-ray, even though that market continues to dwindle and stuff, for those people, we're going to work with a guy like Matt Ferguson, who's one of the better newer artists working right now. And we'll do a special edition print of whatever Thor Ragnarok that has this cool poster on the cover.
So walking through the movie theater, they've gotten better with these kinds of displays like this. And I learned a new term. They're called Standees, by the way. I didn't know that prior to doing my research here, but like some of these things like the Meg, Wonder Park, Rise of Skywalker, all of the Toy Story. I mean, you can put your face in there or whatever. I think the one I really liked was the Guardian of the Galaxy one, where you could sit down on the couch between these guys and get your picture. I I mean, how smart is this, right? Like people are going to sit between these guys, get their picture, post it on social media, and Marvel is letting amateur people with phones promote for them.
It's crowdsourcing your marketing is what it amounts to. I think it works best with the kids movies. You know, if I have a son, I have an 8-year-old, and you know, if we take him to go see a movie, there's a great chance that we're going to end up taking a picture of him with the Addams Family cart, you know, in one of these standees like this. And so I think it's most effective for kids movies, but it also works great it's Instagram ready for Guardians of the Galaxy or the Meg. That was a great one, you know, where you can stand inside the shark's mouth. No, thank you. I would never do that, even up Standee. But it works really well. And it's just like I said, it's crowdsourcing. It's free marketing for all that's costing them is to print up some cardboard, and some $10 an hour employees having to set it up and being super frustrated with it. And then they're probably getting hundreds and thousands of Instagram hits on it. And it's, you know,
there are a lot
of puts it in your mind. Oh, right. Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out in a month or so, you know?
Yeah, you're right. This really does play to the kids' audiences. I mean, there just seems to be like, they seem to do this really well. I guess because people just want to take pictures of their kids anyway. Like the parent's going to take a picture of the kids. Whereas if it's an older person one, you got to hand your phone off and look like a dork in front of the
right. Exactly.
You know, I mean, like this one, you know, like, I guess.
Yeah, who's taking that picture? Yeah, not very many. I would guess that one wasn't super successful. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. You know,